The Believer's Walk of Faith is paid for by Bill Winston Ministries partners and viewers.
Perfecting the love walk. This is not a suggestion to love. This is a command to love. So you're under a new commandment, and that's the commandment of love. If you fulfill that commandment, then you've settled all the other commandments. Over in Galatians chapter 5 and verse 6, it says, but faith worketh by love. And I'm telling you, you're not going to rise any higher than your love walk. Power of love will turn around anything. The love topic that we're talking about is not human love. It's not phileo. We get our word Philadelphia from it. But it's agape. It's a love that is not performance-based. It's an unconditional love. I'm going to love you whether you love me back. That's the kind of love it is. Now, this particular love, over in Galatians and chapter 5 and verse 14, it says, for all the law is fulfilled in one word, even this, thou shalt love thy neighbor as thyself. Now, why is he saying this? He's saying this because there was the law in the Old Testament. And this law in the Old Testament was thou shalt not, thou shalt not, thou shalt not, thou shalt not. And that's what the Old Testament had. And it was nothing but rules and regulations which were meant to control the impulses of the natural man. They were meant to control a person that was in a fallen state of their existence. In other words, Adam and God walked and talked together. Adam sinned and they got separated. Now what's happening? Man has fallen. What's going on? God is now giving man a set of regulations to follow to keep this man alive, to preserve this man. So, this is the Old Testament, but it came to pass that was prophesied in Jeremiah, for example. He said, but this shall be the covenant that I will make with the house of Israel after those days, saith the Lord. I will put my law in their what? Inward parts, and write it in their hearts, and I'll be their God, and they shall be my people. So what is he saying? This mankind, before Christ came, was a natural man that was under the impulses of impulses of the flesh, meaning that this man didn't have God in him. He didn't have God's nature anymore. He fell and took on the nature of Satan. And now Jesus has got to come because he got to restore him back to his rightful place, giving him the nature of God back in him. So to govern this man, he is saying, I'm going to give you some laws that'll check your flesh. Thou shalt not, thou shalt not, thou shalt not. Now, Jesus is coming because this is prophesied. I'm going to soon write my laws on the inside of you. In the Old Testament, I wrote them on a tablet of stone. Moses came up and he wrote them by the finger of God on a stone. But I'm going to take them off the stone and put them in your flesh. Now, how can I do that? because you're going to come back to me. In other words, when Jesus comes, he's going to make a way for you to come back to the Father, and now you've got the Father's nature again, and we found out that the Father's nature is love. So I'm going to put that back inside of you. Romans chapter 5 and verse 5, if you will. Hope maketh not ashamed, because the love of God is shed abroad in our hearts by the who? Holy Ghost, which is given unto us. Now, let's look at 1 John chapter 4 and verse 7. Beloved, let us love one another. For love is of God, and everyone that loveth is born of God and knoweth God. For he that loveth not knoweth not God. For God is what? God is love. God is love. He doesn't change. He is love. He doesn't have love. He is love. Going down to verse 12. No man hath seen God at any time. If we love one another, God dwelleth in us, and his love is perfected in us. Hereby know we that we dwell in him, and he in us, because he hath given us of his Spirit. Now, we're going to go to that Spirit in just a minute, but let's go down to verse 16. And we have known and believed the love that God hath to us. God is what? Love. And he that dwelleth in love dwelleth where? In God. And God where? In him. Herein is our love made perfect, that we may have boldness in the day of judgment. Because as he is, so are we in this world. There is no what? Fear in love. There is no fear in love. Watch this. But perfect love, what? Cast out fear. Because fear has what? Torment. He that feareth is not made perfect what? In love. Well, I got to understand that. Wait a minute. If this fear is in my life, if this anxiety, if it's all this is in my life, maybe I need to work on my love. Because there is no fear in love. Next verse. We love him because he what? First loved me. So if any man say, I love God, and hates his brother, he is a what? A liar. For he that loveth not his brother whom he has seen, how can he love God whom he's not seen? Wow. Well, that makes sense. So God is giving you another love. Where is it? It's being shed abroad in your heart. By the who? Holy Ghost. Look at it, Romans chapter 5.